I don't know where I left off. My camera overheated in the shade. Today I think it's gonna be 115, 118 degrees. But you guys saw how I planted the palm. You know how to take care of it. Now the last thing you're gonna do, guys, is you need to water it. That's gonna be the most difficult part of planting a tree in the ground, is knowing how to water the plant. The first thing you need to understand is most plants, when you first put them in the ground, even if you flood the whole area, all the roots are in this small space right here. And depending how fast the plant grows, those roots are going to remain there for the next few months. Now, today it's going to be really, really hot. And then this plant in the container, I was watering it daily because daily was drying out. So I'm not going to change my watering schedule just because I put it in the ground. Is it gonna take a little longer to dry out? Yes, it will, just because the evaporation rate, it's a lot lower now that it's planted in the ground. But the plant is still drinking water, guys. When watering a plant, you need to understand how plants actually use that water. Most of the water that you give your plants will use through transpiration. Transpiration is just another way of, another word for sweating. Plants sweat for the same reasons you do. So if the area around the plant's hot, the plant's gonna sweat a lot more than if it was somewhere else where there's no concrete around. The area around this plant is in, it's full of concrete. My house is just 10 feet away that way. So this plant is gonna sweat. And then it's gonna be super hot today too. Now, for this season, guys, this plant will take at least 1 full year in the ground to grow roots. Until then, even if the soil around the root ball is soaking wet, the plant won't be able to drink that water because it has no roots in that soil yet. That's the main mistake people make when planting trees in the ground. They flood everything 10 feet deep, and then they forget about it for a week, and then they wonder why the plant is dead. Even though the soil around the plant is soaking wet, there's no way that it died from lack of water. And yes, it will die, guys, especially if it's gonna be 118 degrees. You need to concentrate on the root ball. The root ball is right here, as you guys saw, so you can scoop the mulch back. And then what you're gonna do, guys, is you're gonna get your water, and then you're gonna water right at the root ball level, right here. And then how often are you gonna water? Well, when you first put your tree in the ground, or in this case, this palm, you're gonna water, and then every 6 to 12 hours, you're gonna come out, and you're gonna check the root ball. You can stick your finger in there, and stick it down as far as you can. And then the second you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger, that is exactly how often you're going to water. Remember, it's not how much water, it's about the frequency. So you want to water this a lot more frequent than just deep watering it and forgetting about it for a while. Especially right now, because the plant doesn't have any roots in the soil to drink the water. So what I'm gonna do right now, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and water this plant before my camera overheats again. It's 8:30 in the morning right now. It's already like 95 degrees. So let me go ahead and turn the water on. So I got my water hose right here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and water this plant. How much water? Well, until you think it's fully saturated. So this is gonna take probably maybe 1 to 2 minutes if you water them by hand with a hose like this. So just concentrate on the root ball like that, guys. Now, if you think you didn't compact the soil around the root ball correctly, then you can go ahead and give it more water and maybe flood it too, just so that way that will settle down the soil around the root ball. And then you can check back tomorrow or the next day and see which areas collapsed down because you didn't compact it down right, and then you can pack it back with dirt in there. That would be the only reason why you're flooding right now. But other than that, there's really no benefit, guys, especially if you live in the desert where it gets super hot. So right now I'm just watering the root ball. I know I compacted the soil right, so I don't need to flood the whole thing. And then I'm gonna water like this for this whole summer. I'm just gonna water it, and then I know how fast my soil drains the water. I know how, I don't know, guys, it's just by watching plants hundreds of hours, I just get to know the plants. So I have an idea how often this plant's gonna dry out. And then my guess right now is probably gonna be daily to about every day and a half. But just to be safe, you know, I'm gonna come back later today, and then I'm gonna scoop the mulch back, and I'm gonna check the plant root ball and see if it's moist, if it's wet, or if it's dry. And that will tell me, you know, how often I need to water this plant. Can you overwater plants in the ground? Yes, you can, but usually during the growing season, when it's extremely hot, you will never have any issues with overwatering, guys, because the plant's actively growing, there's evaporation going on, so overwatering takes months to kill your plant, especially a plant like this one right here. And usually you will only have overwatering issues in the ground during the winter months if you water too much, because your plant's not sweating, it's not drinking the water, the soil around the root ball is not drying out, and then there's hardly any evaporation going on too. So don't worry about overwatering, guys, especially if it's gonna be 118 degrees in your area that day. But anyway, so this thing right here is done. So let me go ahead and turn my water off. So that is how you water by hand, guys. Most people will water just like this. Just water 1 to 2 minutes around the root ball, depending how big the root ball is. Obviously, if it's a bigger root ball, you may need longer than that. And then, like I said, wait 6 to 12 hours, and then stick your finger in there and check the root ball physically and see if it's dry or if it's wet. And then see how long it takes for that to dry, you know, maybe about 6 inches. And that is exactly how you water most of your plants the first summer. Because most plants will take at least 1 full year in the ground to grow roots. If there are no roots in this area, even though this area is soaking wet, the plant won't be able to drink the water, guys. So keep that in mind. That's the main mistake people make when planting trees in the ground. Now, as the plant gets older, that's 1-2 years down the road. At that point, guys, then yes, you can go ahead, water slowly, and you soak the whole area, and then let it dry about 1 foot to 2 feet, and then that will be exactly how often you water. You can guesstimate it depending on your drainage, but as long as you let it dry a little bit between watering, you are good to go. Why do you have to let your plants dry in between watering? Well, the root system of all plants, guys, they breathe in oxygen just like you do. So when you water, the water displaces the oxygen away from the root ball, so you're technically drowning your plant. So if you drown them for too long, then that's going to cause anaerobic bacteria to form in that area, and that bacteria is what causes root rot. So that's the main reason why you have to let your plants dry in between to let them breathe, because if you don't, you will drown them and kill them. That takes a long time, guys. It doesn't happen overnight, it doesn't happen in 1 week, it doesn't happen in 2 weeks, it doesn't even happen in 3 weeks. In my experience, it takes several months for overwatering issues to show up, and then mainly happens during the winter time. And you know, I have thousands of plants here, so I get to see a bigger picture than most people. But anyways, guys, that's exactly how often you water. Now let's say you have an irrigation system just like this one right here, which I do. I'm not gonna be hang watering anything. Hang watering is what kills my plants because I'm not efficient at hang watering. So this guy right here, how you run this? Well, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna get your line and you're gonna put it maybe 2-3 inches away from the trunk, right there, and then you're gonna turn it on. Depending how many gallon per hour emitters you have, that will dictate how long you're gonna water. So you're gonna turn it on and you're gonna visually inspect and see how long you think it takes for that to fully saturate the root ball, and that is exactly how often you're gonna water. Obviously, this line right here, you're gonna probably have it come on every day to every day and a half, maybe every 2 days, depending on your temperatures. And you will always have to water this a lot more often than any other plants that you have in the ground. So the problem with the drippers is, what if you have other plants that are in the ground and they don't need that frequent watering because they have roots in the soil? So at that point, what you can do, guys, and this is what I do personally, since I have tons of plants on this line right here, so I'm gonna water frequently, but this plant only needs probably a few minutes, right? Now obviously I have another 50 plants that are gonna get watered at the same time too, that don't need that water. But 1 to 2 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes of watering right here at the root ball, it's not gonna overwater my other plants. Now 2-3 minutes of watering, it's not gonna water them either. So just continue your regular cycle of watering your other plants, which for me, you know, I usually when I use the drippers, I water for 6-12 hours or so because my plants have been in the ground for many years now. But this one right here, it's gonna get daily watering, maybe 2, 3, 4 minutes. I'm gonna, you know, eyeball it, turn it on, and see how long I think it takes to saturate the soil. Now everything around is gonna get watered too, but it's not gonna soak the soil to the point that it's gonna completely overwater the plant. It will soak it maybe 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, but that will evaporate in a few hours here in the sun. So a few minutes is not enough to overwater your plants, but it's enough to soak the root ball of this plant right here. And that is how you use your drippers how you water when you have new plants in the ground and older plants on the same zone. Anyways, guys, hopefully this helps you out. And then if you have any questions, comment below. If you like the video, subscribe, and then I will see you next time. Oh, before I forget, guys, I almost completely forgot. Let's talk about the fruit of this plant. Why am I planting this in the ground? I don't think I talked about it earlier. The fruit of this plant, they look like dates. And then to me, they taste like peaches and pineapples. They're extremely delicious. So if you're gonna grow a palm, may as well grow something that gives you good fruit. And then a lot of people don't know this plant. So, and they don't know how easy it is to grow it. It's super low maintenance and you hardly have to do anything besides water. Now from this size right here, it will take probably about 3 to 5 years for this plant to start flowering and fruiting. I'm not worried about it. I got time, I guess, if I'm still alive 5 years from now. So yeah, that's the only reason why I'm putting this in the ground, because it's just something else that we like and we want to enjoy the fruit. But anyways, guys, I'll see you next time.